They lost their mother in one of Hollywood's most mysterious tragedies, a drowning that still haunts investigators decades later. But what happened to Natalie Wood's two daughters after that fateful Thanksgiving weekend in 1981? Behind the glamour and the grief lies a story of resilience, rebellion, and the complex legacy of growing up as the children of a Hollywood legend. Her sudden death at age 43 left behind two young daughters who would have to navigate life without their famous mother, carrying both her legacy and the weight of unanswered questions about her tragic end. Born on September 29, 1970, Natasha Gregson Wagner was Natalie Wood's first daughter with British producer Richard Gregson. At just 11 years old, Natasha's world was shattered when she received the devastating phone call about her mother's death. The young girl, who had been living a relatively normal childhood despite her mother's fame, suddenly found herself thrust into a spotlight she never asked for. Natasha's early years were marked by the duality of privilege and tragedy. She attended prestigious private schools in Los Angeles, where she struggled to find her identity separate from her mother's legacy. Teachers and classmates often viewed her through the lens of her famous parent, making it difficult for her to develop her own sense of self. She has spoken openly about the challenges of growing up without her mother's guidance during crucial teenage years. Following her mother's death, Natasha was raised primarily by her stepfather, Robert Wagner, whom she considered her real father. Wagner provided stability during an incredibly turbulent time, though the family dynamics became increasingly complex as questions about Natalie's death continued to swirl in the media. Natasha has consistently defended Wagner against speculation about his involvement in her mother's death, stating, "He was the most wonderful father to me." Educationally, Natasha pursued her interests in literature and the arts, eventually attending college where she studied English literature. Her academic pursuits reflected a desire to carve out her own intellectual path, separate from the entertainment industry that had defined her mother's life. However, the pull of Hollywood proved too strong to resist entirely. In the 1990s, Natasha began her own acting career, appearing in films like Two Girls and a Guy alongside Robert Downey Jr. and High Fidelity with John Cusack. Her approach to acting was notably different from her mother's, more introspective and less concerned with traditional Hollywood glamour. She often chose independent films over blockbusters, perhaps as a way to honor her mother's artistic integrity while establishing her own creative voice. Natasha's personal life has been marked by a search for stability and meaning. She married actor D.V. DeVincentis in 2003, though the marriage ended in divorce. Her romantic relationships have often been scrutinized by the media, with constant comparisons to her mother's tumultuous love life. In 2015, she found lasting love with actor Barry Watson, and they welcomed a daughter together in 2012. Beyond acting, Natasha has become a guardian of her mother's legacy, working on documentaries and projects that honor Natalie Wood's memory. She executive produced the HBO documentary Natalie Wood, What Remains Behind in 2020, which offered an intimate look at her mother's life and addressed many of the myths and speculations surrounding her death. Through this work, Natasha has shown remarkable courage in facing painful memories while celebrating her mother's artistic achievements. Her relationship with her half-sister Courtney has remained strong throughout their lives, with both sisters supporting each other through the unique challenges of being Natalie Wood's daughters. Natasha has often spoken about how their shared experience created an unbreakable bond, saying, "We're the only two people who really understand what it was like to lose her." Born on March 9, 1974, Courtney Brooke Wagner was Natalie Wood's second daughter with Robert Wagner. At just 7 years old when her mother died, Courtney's memories of Natalie are more fragmented than her sister's, consisting mainly of fleeting moments and the stories told by family members. This has created a different kind of grief, mourning not just the loss of her mother, but the relationship they never had the chance to fully develop. Courtney's childhood was shaped by her father's attempts to maintain normalcy while dealing with his own grief and the media scrutiny surrounding Natalie's death. Robert Wagner was determined to protect his daughter from the more sensational aspects of the story, creating a protective bubble around her during her formative years. However, this protection came at a cost, as Courtney often felt disconnected from her mother's legacy and unsure of her place within it. Unlike her sister, Courtney showed less interest in pursuing acting as a career. Instead, she gravitated toward more private pursuits, including art and writing. Her creative expressions often served as a way to process her complex feelings about her mother's death and her own identity. She attended art school and developed a talent for painting, using visual art as a means of exploring themes of loss, memory, and family. Courtney's teenage years were particularly challenging, as she struggled with the weight of her family's tragedy while trying to establish her own identity. She has been open about experiencing periods of depression and anxiety, which she attributes partly to the unresolved nature of her mother's death and the constant media attention surrounding it. The conspiracy theories and speculation about whether her mother's death was truly accidental created an additional layer of trauma for the young woman. In her 20s, Courtney made some ventures into the entertainment industry, but primarily behind the scenes. She worked as a production assistant on several films and television shows, preferring to contribute to the creative process without being in the spotlight. This choice reflected her desire to honor her mother's legacy while maintaining her privacy and emotional well-being. Courtney's personal relationships have been kept largely out of the public eye, a conscious decision to protect herself from the scrutiny that comes with being a celebrity's child. She has spoken about the challenges of dating and forming relationships when potential partners often have preconceived notions about her based on her family's fame and tragedy. Her relationship with Robert Wagner has been complex, colored by both gratitude for his role as a father figure and the ongoing questions about her mother's death. As an adult, Courtney has had to navigate her own feelings about the circumstances surrounding Natalie's death while maintaining her relationship with the man who raised her. She has generally avoided making public statements about the case, preferring to keep her thoughts private. The bond between Courtney and her sister Natasha has been a source of strength throughout their lives. Despite their different approaches to dealing with their mother's legacy, they have maintained a close relationship, understanding that they share a unique experience that few others can comprehend. Courtney has often relied on Natasha's guidance and support, particularly during difficult periods in her life. The story of Natalie Wood's daughters is ultimately one of resilience and the complex nature of legacy. Both women have had to forge their own paths while carrying the weight of their mother's fame and the mystery surrounding her death. They have each found different ways to honor Natalie's memory while establishing their own identities separate from the tragedy that defined their childhoods. Natasha has chosen a more public approach, using her platform to celebrate her mother's artistic achievements and address the speculation surrounding her death. Through her work on documentaries and her own acting career, she has kept Natalie Wood's memory alive while demonstrating her own talents and perspectives. Courtney has taken a more private path, focusing on personal healing and creative expression away from the public eye. Her choice to live a quieter life reflects a different but equally valid way of processing grief and trauma while honoring her mother's memory. Both daughters have had to confront the reality that their mother's death will likely remain a mystery, and they have each found ways to make peace with that uncertainty. Their stories serve as a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of family bonds to survive even the most devastating tragedies. The legacy they carry forward is not just about preserving their mother's memory, but about demonstrating that it is possible to build meaningful lives despite experiencing profound loss at a young age. Their journey continues to inspire others who have faced similar challenges, showing that healing is possible even when some questions remain forever unanswered. Thanks for watching. Click here to check another video, and make sure to subscribe to our channel.